Hello, welcome to another episode of Careers in Accounting. Today we're welcome with Chris LaBarge. He's a WashU alum, a senior manager in the audit practice at KPMG. So welcome, Chris.
Yep,
Thanks
you,
for taking the time. So maybe we can start with a little bit of your background. How did you become interested in accounting, and what brought you to WashU, and then ultimately to your position at KPMG?
So my family owns a business here in St. Louis. So watching my dad growing up, I always knew I wanted to get into business. Didn't necessarily know exactly what practice, like what field within business. So it was always wanted to go to business school, somehow work my way into business. And I took an accounting course in high school. And so taking that accounting course, and I'm a data-driven person, so seeing like how everything balances and flows together and how all the financial statements interact, that was always interesting for me and something I felt like clicked for me. And so I'm from St. Louis originally, and I played football here at WashU. And so coming to WashU, getting into business school, it naturally became accounting became my focus. Just understanding kind of the diversity that accounting allows you to do. So once I got in the accounting program and knew I wanted to study accounting as my undergraduate degree, it became, okay, what down the road do I want to do as a profession? And so if you're going to study accounting, it made sense, okay, the big four CPA firms. And so, okay, if you're going to go work for the big four CPA firms, you got to get your CPA, right? And so in order to have your CPA, you need to have 120 hours, you need to have, or 150 hours, you need to have, enough credits to sit for the CPA exam. So if you're going to have enough credits to sit for the CPA exam, might as well then get your master's while you're at it. And so it just kind of all naturally kind of flowed together, where I was an undergraduate here at WashU, and then got into the master's program, and have since then, once you're in the accounting program, the number of the accounting firms, both the big four and the regional firms that reach out and try to recruit you, it seems like you almost have like the pick of the firms you want to work at. So it's a very highly sought after, and a lot of demand for accounting students. So so KPMG just became kind of the natural choice for me just through the internship program.
Okay, and you've been there 11 years. That's a good run at a big four firm. So maybe talk a little bit about a couple projects you've worked on recently.
Yeah, so I am the lead senior manager for charter communications. So I sign off on the financial statements that go out. So making sure those are right for investors. Some recent projects I worked on actually a couple years ago. Now it's been 4 or 5 years. Charter acquired Time Warner Cable, and so we worked on, it was a $90 billion acquisition. So we worked on, when companies are acquiring, they're paying $90 billion, but having to value all the assets, like what is the price for those assets? And so when it's an acquisition that big, having to determine, okay, how much does they signed an agreement with an apartment that they can only provide charter. Well, how much is that value? How much are you buying? So assigning, making sure all that value is right. I've also, just with the clients that I've had, some of the large SEC public jobs that I've worked on, I've done international travel. It was in Shanghai, China in 2019. I've been to Madrid twice. I've been to South Africa. I've worked in London. So I've had a lot of opportunities for good travel too. Just as we've, a lot of our clients in public accounting are large international companies. So, because they're international companies, they have operations everywhere. So while they may be headquartered here in St. Louis or in the U.S., because they have operations, as their audit firm or as their accounting firm, we have to travel and potentially do work at those places. So it's been a lot of great, unique opportunities to kind of see the world.
Yeah, those sounds like fabulous experiences. So I imagine all that's very difficult, and your time is very valuable. How have you dealt with or seen the getting new people into the profession and keeping good experienced people that can help you do your job?
Yeah, so like I said, there's never been a higher demand for accounting students, especially as we're looking forward into the future for ESG. The SEC has released, it's not a final proposal yet, but potentially including climate diversity statistics within the financial statements that may need to have an audit done over them. And so because of that, we're kind of gearing up as kind of the new SOX, if you will. Our generation's, essentially view on SOX. And so we're gearing up where we're basically all the firms are trying to staff to be able to do all this work that's going to be coming down. So, like I said, there's never been a higher demand for quality accounting students to help support the work that's going to be coming and the work that we're needing.
And you had touched upon a little bit earlier about how those people, once they get into a firm such as KPMG and after a few years of experience, how the world kind of opens up to them professionally from an opportunity standpoint. Can you talk about maybe some instances where you've seen some colleagues move on and do something outside the firm or outside of core accounting?
Yes. So getting into business, again, directly out of college, you're kind of going in entry level, and that's a slow, steady climb to kind of work your way up through companies, just through promotions and just natural progression. So a lot of times what these companies in the industry do is they look towards the accounting firms, because when, it's kind of like a feeder program where we're pulling kids out of school and we're spending a lot of time investing in them in training and sending them around traveling and, doing all this real world experience that you just don't get in industry. And so, there's always a high demand for, as soon as you join an accounting firm, for companies and industries to try to pull you out. And ever since COVID, especially, the demand for people and the job offers that come to people in companies in the industries trying to pull people out, it's been like nothing we haven't seen. So so it's definitely a highly sought after profession.
Yeah, that's what I find interesting about accounting is just the demand that's there for the resources, both in the firms and at the companies, as you mentioned, and then just the opportunities that a young person has to flourish in that environment. It's a perfect storm, if you ask me.
Yeah, no, especially because, we see so many different things where, like, if you go directly into, I'm going to work in supply chain, I'm going to work in payables or sales, you're kind of limited to one aspect of an organization, where a lot of these accounting firms, you see all aspects of, you see every, like all aspects of the operations of, how they enter into contracts, how they record, how they, get their supply chain, how they implement ERP systems and record data. So you see all these different things you don't typically get to see if you just can go direct entry into organizations. That, that wide range of experience and understanding allows you to do so many different things. Like, once you've gotten an organization, your skill set has become so valuable and so diversified.
Yeah. Can you talk a little bit about your experience with compensation and how that's changed over the recent near term, and how a near-term professional, maybe a 3 to 6 year person, what are they looking for and are looking to see in terms of compensation in the field?
Yeah, and so as I noted, the high demand and just across all the firms for a small pool of talent, because again, we're limited to who's getting their CPA, who's getting those credit hours to join a CPA firm, which because there's a high demand. The price for those services has gone up substantially, especially since COVID. I think a lot of industries were impacted by layoffs and things like that, where the accounting side actually was the opposite.
Yeah.
It was, there was never a higher demand, and so because of that, the compensation has never been higher. I think, again, this was my 11th year end, and I think the staff that are coming directly out of college are making 20-25% more than they were making when I was there, which obviously outpaces inflation, even under these high inflationary times.
Yeah.
And then again, as the industry too is desperately needing help in professions, what they need to pay to pull people out of these accounting firms has also substantially gone up. So, some of the offers people get to pull people out of accounting firms, it's
surprising.
Like, yeah, it is,
it's
and especially
startling.
recently,
Life-changing type raises. So
definitely.
it's very interesting. Can you talk a little bit about the work-life balance that you're seeing in public accounting? Because there's been a perception over time that it's a very challenging industry, but a very work-intensive industry. But what about like COVID and the remote working? What are you seeing?
Yeah, so when I first started, it was very much, the work you were doing was in a team setting on site. And so if work needed to be done, like I said, in New York, you would send a team, or you deploy a team, either travel there or deploy a team locally out of New York. What COVID has done is, essentially said no one can travel. Everyone needs, but all the work and the audits and our clients didn't never stop, transacting and needing to get their financial statements out to investors. And so what that caused is a acceleration in remote work. And so we were still doing the same work basically from home during COVID. So what that's done is create a flexible work environment that's now basically become the norm. Where if we had a client in St. Louis, we would staff in St. Louis, and if we had limited resources, those individuals would work more hours. Well, now in this flexible work environment, we really can do we can do work from anywhere, and so we're getting individuals, and a lot of the accounting firms, all the big four, are doing this. PwC, EY, they've moved almost entirely to a flexible work environment where you literally can work anywhere.
And live anywhere.
And live anywhere, yeah.
Where you choose.
Yep, yeah. So you can be on the West Coast working on clients on the East Coast if your industry is specific to financial services and all the banks are in New York, but you want to live in California. People can do that anywhere. And our clients are also, with COVID, they were used to have their offices and their individuals working there, but they've also moved now because of COVID to remote work and to cloud-based. So everything they're doing is now can be accessed anywhere. You don't need to physically be on site to get the data. It's now all cloud-based. And so because of that, not only are we conforming to our clients, but we've also now conforming to just with the remote work and the flexible work environment, which has also caused where it used to be a standard 9 to 5 job. Well, if your clients on the East Coast and you have individuals on the West Coast, they're on a different time schedule, and so what it's also caused is your chargeability in the hours you need to get in may not necessarily be 9 to 5 like it used to be, and so even individuals who've got to get their kids to school in the morning or want to spend time coaching their kids after school, like the time people work now in the accounting industry has become a lot more flexible, and so creates a lot more work-life balance.
Yeah, agreed. So last question, beyond just students investing in their technical abilities, any suggestions as to other areas that you would find helpful in accounting?
Yeah, no matter what you get into in the business world, especially accounting, but even if it's whatever practice or field of study, public speaking, I think if individuals, because no matter what, if it's a problem with a client, or you need to make a request for a client, or there's an issue you need to talk through, being able to be able to speak effectively and clearly is such a valuable skill set that I think a lot of times, especially in this generation of technology and texting and email, people don't get a lot of chances to do public speaking. So definitely public speaking as much as you can.
Even in class.
Even in class.
Nice.
Yeah, because even like in now, even classes are no longer in person, they're over video, and so people don't get even now, like more so than ever, don't get as many chances to communicate face to face, and a lot of business is still conducted face to face, and be able to communicate to your clients. And I have to present to audit committees and board of directors, and so be able to effectively communicate is so important. And then the courses and everything you study will give you a good foundation in accounting and intermediate accounting and in all the technical accounting skills. Being able to put yourself in situations where you're having to critically think and problem solve, like that is so important, and it's a skill that not everyone has developed. And so being able to like identify a problem and quickly think through a solution for it, no matter what you're in, I think it's just so important, and separates individuals that we see coming into the firm. The people who can critically think and problem solve early on just are so successful.
Excellent. A lot of great thoughts. Appreciate it, Chris. Thanks for your time.
Yep. Thanks, Jeff.